Taking video games too seriously, that can mean a lot of different things, and most of them are not good. Being people who are really passionate about video games, it is something we need to look out for. Now, before I start talking about what's taking it too far, I want to talk about what's not taking it too far. And that would be just having video gaming as a hobby of ours, a passion of ours. There's nothing wrong with that. Remember, years and years ago, it was considered weird just to simply be into video games. Having it as a hobby, that in and of itself, people would say that was going too far. Now, obviously, I'm somebody with a large collection of games, and I spend a significant chunk of every day either making videos about video games or actually playing the video games themselves. So I may be a little bit biased, but I do think things have changed around where having video games as a hobby, having passion for it, that's not taking things too far. What is taking it too far is when we take that passion and enthusiasm that we have for video games and we use it to lord over other people and make them feel bad. And this can happen in a whole bunch of different ways. The first way that I would see this happen, and it would drive me nuts back in the day, was I'd be over at a friend's house and one of their siblings would want to play video games, and my friend would not be patient, understanding, or helpful at all in teaching them how to play the game. In fact, it would be the exact opposite. They'd be complete jerks and give them a really hard time about not understanding certain things. But the thing about it is, that person, that sibling, probably had barely ever played video games at all. And so for them, it's almost like learning a completely new language. It's this totally different type of motor skills and using your brain to do something that you're just not used to. For us, it's practically innate. It's second nature. It comes very easily. But for them, you gotta be more patient. And so the solution to that is pretty obvious, and I think I can easily just assume all of you watching know this now. If you're trying to get somebody into video games, be nice. Don't be a jerk. Otherwise, they're going to have a bad experience and they're just never going to want to play again. But what if everybody in the room does know how to play video games reasonably well? Well, it can still be an issue if there's somebody in the room who's taking things way too seriously. And this could manifest itself in the way of them ridiculing you for not being as good as them, or say you're playing a single player game and they're observing and they give you crap for not doing something well, or you need to do it this way or that way. Nobody likes somebody like that in the room. It just ruins the experience, and you're missing the whole point of it, which is that video games are supposed to be enjoyable. It doesn't matter how good you are at them. And sure, you may want to get better at certain games for personal reasons, but it's not up for other people to decide for you how good you should be at the game in order to enjoy it. That's just being obnoxious and putting way too much importance in your own opinion. It's especially frustrating when somebody is enjoying a game and still somebody comes in and says they're doing it the wrong way. Quick little story for you. I remember back when I was a kid, a whole bunch of us went over to somebody's house, and Mario Kart was the game we were playing. Mario Kart 64. And somebody's sister was playing the game, and she was having a great time. She was having a fun time, but she happened to be playing on 50cc. Now, nobody really cared. Whatever. She's having fun. She hasn't played the game very much, so she has to do it on that lower difficulty level. Well, some jerk kid who none of us had really hung out with before, I don't know why he was over there, starts going on and on about how he does the game at 150cc and how lame it is that she's only playing at 50cc. And the rest of us are all looking around like, who invited this guy? Get him out of here. Okay, but next I want to talk about taking video games too seriously in a way that affects just you personally. And this is actually what I think a lot of you watching are most susceptible to, because there's a whole bunch of different traps that we can fall into. The first and most obvious way that this happens is when you get frustrated playing a challenging game and you're getting really angry. And it's to that point where it starts being not fun because because you're just taking that game too seriously. Because here's the thing, does it really matter if you beat the game or not? A personal sense of satisfaction, sure, and maybe you could tell some of us and we'll care, but does it really affect your personal life? Not at all. I mean, what are you gonna do? Go to the grocery store, slam your produce down on the ground, stand up on the free sample table and say, everybody, listen up. I got a question for everyone. Show of hands, who here has beaten Battletoads? And you put your hand up and nobody else does, and you go, yeah, just me. That's what I thought. And then people are looking around like, what is Battletoads? So the next time you get really angry while playing a difficult video game, it's time to either take a break or take a reality check, because there is no reason that video games should be causing you to feel badly if you're doing it by choice. The next thing that's really frustrating, and I'm sure everybody has encountered this, is when people are really angry when other people either don't like the same game as them or like a game that they don't like. And I mean, I don't know what to say. Video games are subjective. So, I mean, opinions are going to differ. What can you do about it? Now, look, I get it. We're all very passionate about video games, and sometimes maybe you want to go really in-depth explaining why a video game is so great in order to sort of accentuate some of those details within the game to really bring out and illustrate what makes it so great. But you still got to remember that you can make every argument in the world for why a game is good, and somebody could give it every possible chance and still end up not liking it. That's just the way it goes. Something else I've noticed that might seem kind of bizarre, but a lot of us are a lot more susceptible to this than we might think, is when you don't like a game that people think is really good and you think there's something wrong with you for not liking it. I mean, you just gotta lighten up. You're just not gonna like every single game. And there's nothing wrong with acknowledging that a game is good and good for a lot of people, but just doesn't click with you. And that about does it for my thoughts. I think the key distinction with all of this is that video games are made for enjoyment, and when it crosses from enjoyment over to negativity, either for yourself or for other people, that's when you're taking things too seriously. If you're taking video games really seriously and it's creating nothing but tons of enjoyment for you, and it's infectious to where you're spreading that joy to other people, then there's nothing wrong with that because there's no negativity. I take my YouTube channel very seriously. Now, sure, I joke around a lot, but I take it seriously in the sense of trying to make good quality content that you're actually going to enjoy and get something out of. And if through my love and passion for video games that I put into my videos, if that can make your video game playing and collecting experience more enjoyable, that's the best thing my channel could ever do, in my opinion. But of course, I want to hear what all of you have to say about this. I'm sure there's a lot of very different, unique perspectives when it comes to this kind of stuff, so be sure to leave those comments down below, and I will see ya in the next video.
He's the retro bird, yeah. And he's talking about video games. He's the retro